Lesson 1, I will identify and draw points, lines, line segments, rays, and angles. So today we're going to switch to an entirely different module, and in this lesson we're going to talk about some geometric figures. And remember that identify means that you're going to be able to recognize that figure, and obviously you already know what draw means. So let's go ahead and get our journal ready, and I want you to go ahead and write today's date, lesson 1. I'm also going to tell you that you're going to need a ruler or some kind of straight edge if you're at school and you need a ruler. The rulers are over by my telephone and over by the pencil sharpener, so you're going to need that. We're not going to be measuring. We're just going to be using the edge of the ruler so that we can draw nice straight lines. Okay, so the first thing I want you to do is this little piece of paper represents your journal paper, okay? And let's think about this for a minute. If you wanted to mark a specific spot on your paper, okay, any part, okay, you would use just a dot, okay? So make a dot somewhere on your paper, all right? This is called a point, okay? Now let's make a point somewhere else on your paper, okay? Now, in geometry, these dots, our points, are representing something that is so precise you couldn't even find it with the world's most powerful microscope. So I want you to remember, we cannot draw what an actual point looks like because even the tip of your pencil lead is bigger than what an actual point is in the real world. But we are just using, this is the smallest point that we can make with our pencil. This is how we are representing a point. Now, you identify points with letters. So we're going to label each one with a letter. I labeled mine A and B. So this is point A and this is point B. Okay, so that's how you call them. You just call it point A, point B. Now, we are going to draw a line segment connecting our 2 points. So this is where you're going to use your straight edge. So take your ruler and I want you to put it underneath point A and underneath point B, and then I want you to take your pencil and run your pencil along the edge so that you have a nice perfect straight line segment between AB. Now this is how you write line segment AB. You could either write the words line segment AB or you can use this symbol. This symbol over the top of the 2 capital letters means line segment. You could also call this line segment BA. It's the same line segment. So you can either start it with the A and call it line segment AB, or you can start with the B and call it line segment BA. Okay? All right, now I want you to draw another point on your paper somewhere, but it cannot be on AB. It cannot be on this line segment. Make it anywhere else. I'm going to make mine down here, okay? And I'm going to label it C. So this is point C. Now, with your straight edge, I want you to draw a line segment connecting point A to point C. So it should look like this. Now, you may have put your C somewhere else than I did. Oops, I can't get it straight, okay? And that's okay, as long as you connected the 2 points. So now we have line segment AC or CA. Okay? Now, could you extend line AC to make it longer if you wanted to? If you had a really big piece of paper, you could extend the line segment in both directions. So we could come up here and we could make it go on and on and on forever, past this way, and we could make it go this way. Let's extend line line segment AC just a bit on both ends and draw an arrow on both ends. Okay, so here's what we're going to do. We're going to use an arrow this time, and we're going to start on this end of line segment AC, and we're going to extend it this way, and then we're going to extend it this way. Now, the arrow means that in real life, this line goes on and on and on and on and on forever. We can't draw it on and on and on forever, but by putting the arrow, that means that it keeps going in that direction forever. So what we have just drawn is called a line. So line AC is different than line segment AC. How are they different? Well, obviously, they have arrows on the ends for one thing. But line segment AC had 2 definite stopping points. It stopped here and it stopped here. By adding these arrows to the ends, a line continues on and on and on forever. A line segment is actually just part of a line. It's where you've taken a little section out of a line. Now a line, you can't take a part of it. It just keeps going on and on forever. Now a line is like a line segment. You can call it line AC. You can also call it line CA. You can name it from either direction. All right, now let's draw a point D. Point D should not be located on line segment AB or anywhere on line AC, including the points where it's extended, okay? So I'm going to put point D right here, okay? So let's put point D down here, and I'm going to label it D. So now I've got point A, B, C. Now we're going to use our straight edge, and we are going to connect point A to point B, like this. So now I have line segment BD or line segment DB. But then I also want you to extend your line segment with an arrow. Okay, so now I have, let's take a look at what I have actually. I have an end point on this, so I have a definite beginning point, and then I have a line segment here, but I have an arrow that keeps on going. So it stops here, or it starts here, but it goes on and on in one direction. So it's not a line because a line goes on and on in both directions, and it's not a line segment because a line segment has two definite points. We call this a ray. Okay, now what's different about a ray is that this is called ray BD, and you always start with the end point. It is not ray DB. You cannot call a ray by the arrow end. This is not ray DB. So lines can be named in either direction. Line segments can be named in either direction, but rays have to begin with the end point. Okay, so our learning target today was we would be able to identify points. We've done that. Line segments, we've done that. Lines, we've done that. And rays, we've done that. The only figure that's left is an angle. Okay, so now here's what we're going to do. We're going to create an angle. All right, we're going to take and draw another point. And this point should not be anywhere on any of your line segments, and it should not be anywhere on your line. So actually, I'm going to put point E about right here. Okay? And then what I want you to do is I want you to draw a line segment connecting B to E. Okay? And actually, I'm going to go ahead and make an arrow, so you can do that too. So now I've got another ray. I have ray BD, and now I have ray BE. Notice that these two rays share an endpoint, this endpoint B. This is called an angle. I'm going to highlight it for you so that you can see exactly what the angle is. Okay? Now, when you have two rays that share an endpoint, it is called an angle. Okay, so that is the last. This is the last part of what we were going to identify today. Now, you'll notice that what I want you to do is take your pencil and I want you to draw a little arc right here by endpoint B. When you're measuring angles, this is the point that you measure. So this opening right here is angle DBE, or you could call it angle EBD. But notice that the endpoint that connects both rays has to be in the middle. Okay? All right, now we're going to go to our problem set and we're going to practice drawing some of these figures. We've already drawn a little bit. We're going to draw a little bit more. Okay, so you're going to continue to use your straight edge, and we're pretty much just going to do a little bit more practice like we did in our journals, only this time we're going to do it in our problem set. So we're just going to pretty much follow the directions. If you want to pause the video and try to follow as much of the directions as you can, and then come back and see if you did it correctly, that would be great. If you get confused at any time, you can always press play and see if you did it correctly. All right, so it says draw 2 points, point A and point B. So we're going to draw a point, just like we did last time. So here's a point. I'm going to label it A. And then it says to draw a point B. I think I'll put point B here. You could point A and point B anywhere you wanted to. Now it says use a straight edge to draw AB. Now look at this. It has this figure over top of it. What does that look like? It's a ray. So we have to draw a ray. And because A is the first letter, that means that A is the end point. Okay, so we're going to put A here. And then we're going to draw it through B. And that is ray AB. Draw a new point that is not on ray AB and label it C. So I'm going to come down here and put a new point, C. Draw segment AC. So a segment has endpoints. So that means that this should not have arrows. I'm just connecting point A to point C. Now it says draw a point not on ray AB or AC, call it D. Now this is a little bit confusing because they said draw a line segment AC and now they're calling it a line, but it's not a line, it's a line segment. So we're going to draw a point that's not on AC and we're going to call it D. So I'm going to put it here. Oops, lost my pen. All right, I'm going to put it here and I'm going to call it D. Point D. Construct line CD. So now I'm going to use two arrows. I'm going to start here with C, and I'm going to go all the way through D. It goes on and on forever. I'm going to come back here from C and go on and on forever. Okay. So it's important that this has arrows at the end because that is what shows that it is a line. Now this isn't exactly straight. I'm going to try to straighten it up a little bit. Okay. Now use the points you've already labeled to name one angle. So an angle is two rays that are connected with an endpoint. Okay, so I'm looking here and I see an angle right, I see a couple of angles, but they don't really have, the points aren't labeled. Okay, so let's do this one. I'm going to highlight it. See right here where this line segment and this line segment share this endpoint A, okay? And I'm going to actually take this all the way up here since that has an endpoint. So I'm going to call this angle ACD. I could call it angle DCA. You may have seen another angle. I actually could have done this one right here too. I could have done angle, let's do a different color. I could have identified this angle, BAC. Now if I knew what this point was right here, I could have come up with a bunch of other angles, but I think I'm just going to go ahead and stop there. But you kind of get the idea. There's lots of angles. Anywhere you have two line segments, rays, or lines that have a common endpoint, then you have an angle. All right? So now it says use the following directions to draw a figure in the box to the right. So we're going to do this again. It says draw 2 points, A and B. So let me get back to my pen. Again, if you want to try to do this all by yourself, go ahead and then come back and check and see if our figures are similar. So here's A, and here is B. You could have put yours anywhere. Use a straight edge to draw AB. Now notice this has no arrows on the end, so this is a line segment. So I'm going to connect A and B with just a line segment. Now it says draw a new point that is not on A and B. Label it C. All right, so I'm going to put C here. Draw, and I have this figure right here, this figure. An arrow on one end. So that is a ray. So it says BC. So the arrow has to come out of C. Okay, so that is ray BC. Now it says draw a new point that's not on line segment AB or ray BC and label it D. So I'm going to come down here. I'm going to label this D. Construct AD. Notice it has this line over the top of it, so that means that this has to be a line. So I'm going to go ahead and start this way and this way. I need to adjust this a little bit. I made that just a little bit crooked. Okay, so this is line AD. Yours probably looks better than mine. Okay, now it says identify angle DAB by drawing an arc to indicate the position of the angle. So here is DAB, so my arc is going to be right inside here. Identify another angle by referencing points that you've already drawn. So I see another angle. What about this angle? CBA. You could also call it ABC. Okay, so I'm going to put the angle sign. Angle, I think I'll call it ABC. That's a little more fun. You could also call it CBA. So angle ABC. On the back, observe the familiar figures below. Label points on each figure and then use those points to label and name representations of each of the following in the table below. Ray, line, line segment, and angle. Extend segments to show lines and rays. Okay, so I'm going to make my page just a little bit bigger so that we can see the whole entire page. All right, I might need to make this smaller. We can't see everything. That's kind of hard, isn't it? Okay, so let's see if I can adjust this. That's better. Okay, so I've kind of hidden the directions, but you can still see. Okay, so it says, I'm going to find a ray on the house. Now, obviously there's no arrows, so I have to extend the line segment to make an arrow. There are lots and lots of line segments, so I'm just going to pick one line segment and I'm going to extend it out like this, and then I'm going to label points, and I'm going to call this A, and then I'm going to call this B. So on the house I have ray A, B. Now I have to do the same thing on the flash drive. There are several lines on the flash drive. You can see lots of line segments. All I have to do is pick one and extend it out and then label it with points. I'm not going to use the same points. I'm going to start new points every time. So I'm going to call this point C and point D. So I have ray C, D. This might make more sense if I go ahead and connect those. Ray CD. And then on the compass, it already has arrows, so I can just label this right here in the middle. I'm going to label this, I'm going to change my color here. I'm going to label this one point E, and I think I'll go ahead and extend this, even though it's already an arrow, just so I have more room to draw. So I'll call, let's do this. I'm going to extend these. Oops, I only need one. Okay, so label another point. I'll label this F. So I have line segment, or excuse me, ray E, F on the compass. Okay, now I have to do lines. This would be easy. I could create a whole new line, or I could come back to my ray and I could just extend it out the other end. I could do that to every single one of them. Just go to the point and turn it into a line. Now I have line AB, line CD, and line EF. Now the line segment, I could go in and just make the line segment in between, but I think I'll just make new ones. All right, so let's call this point G and call this point H. So I have line segment G, H, and then over here I'll call this I, and J. So I have line segment I, J, And then let's come over here. This one's kind of hard because it's so small. So I could do a line segment here and a line segment here, and this is already point E, so I'll call this point K. So I have line segment E, K. All right, now I have to find an angle. All right, so I'm going to use my highlighter here, and I'm probably just going to go ahead and use some of the points that I already have. So I have lots of angles here. I'm going to do angle HGA, angle CIJ, I think I said HGJ, but HGA, CIJ, and then I'll do K, let's do yellow here, KEF. Now I just have to write them. All right, so I've got angle HGA, angle CIJ, angle KEF. Okay, so that was identifying all those points, and I know that was a lot. Okay, and it's kind of harder, I think, to do it in these shapes than it is whenever you just have a regular figure. But just make sure that you go back whenever you're ready to identify points, lines, line segments, and angles. Come back and look at your problem set, and that will help you.